Lovely. So I'm just going to put my screen on full, which means if there's any questions, I probably won't see them until the end. But what we'll do is we'll have a Q&A at the end anyway, if that's all right with everyone. So hopefully this will work. Brilliant. I can still see you guys as well. So hi everyone, thank you for joining us. Today we're going to look at determining the audience you want to reach. So this is a Facebook official deck. So I'm here under my guise as a Facebook Blueprint lead trainer. I have forgotten to change the picture in this slide. I don't look like this lovely lady. I'm here instead. So hi everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Catherine George. I'm the founder of Oso Social. I'm also the founder of Oso Savvy, and I'm here today in my role as a Facebook Blueprint lead trainer. So this is a Facebook official deck, which means occasionally they can be a bit glitchy. And if you've got any questions, do please ask, because we can go into kind of lots more detail and information, and we're here to be really practical for you as well. So what we will do, oh, sorry, I've just seen that I've been calling Christelle Russell. Sorry, I do apologize. So what we'll do is we'll go through the deck, we'll do any questions afterwards, and like I said, I'll probably go into a bit more detail. So today, what we're going to learn about is understanding target audiences. We're going to understand why it's so important to have target audiences for your business. And then we're going to look at how to create target audiences for your business as well. There is a worksheet that we can circulate afterwards. If anyone wants the worksheet that we use in here, just let me know at the end. I tend to just find writing on a bit of paper does just as well on this. So the Lucky Shrub is going to be our example today. The Lucky Shrub is a one-stop shop for garden design and maintenance. It's got a nursery that offers local delivery and a website that sells plants and garden supplies. So the Lucky Shrub are very much Facebook's kind of go-to example at the moment. So we're going to follow on and learn more about these guys today. So Lucky Shrub's team want to reach more customers interested in planting and growing their own gardens. So Karen, who's the owner of Lucky Shrub, really wants to reach more people who are interested in garden design. Ideally, she wants to find customers who want to rely on Lucky Shrub's design service to redo their garden and later become maintenance clients. So what they know exactly who they're after, and they want people who are going to have a whole new garden design by Karen and her team. But she knows that actually there could be much more to it. So she's like all of us, she's a really busy business owner, and she wants to make sure that she's really wise about how she spends their marketing time and their marketing budget, which is why she's going to hone down and create her target audiences. So we all know that every small business has its own goal. And this is so important. And I normally train people, and the first thing I say is, well, what's your business goal? And they go, I don't really have one. It's like, yes, you do. All business owners will have their own goal, and it's completely unique to you. And even if you haven't physically got it written down, you will find that somewhere, even if it's in the back of your mind, there is a piece where you go, actually, I really want to be the biggest plant seller in the UK. Or actually, I just want this as a hobby business and a side hustle, or I want to become big enough to sustain this as a living. So understanding that business goal is kind of the first step to all of your marketing. And this is quite a nice deck today because it will help you with all of your marketing, not just your social media. So the first step is understanding your business goals, because then we can start looking at your customer. So we know that all businesses hope that everyone is their customer. I've gone in and trained massive CEOs before, and they've gone, well, everyone's our customer. Well, spoiler alert, unless you are selling oxygen, not everyone is your customer. So we have to be really realistic on this. We have to really think about who our customer is. A well-defined target audience can really help you achieve your goals, but also your marketing goals, and really help you hone in. I also find this is the first step to really good content creation. The more you can understand about your customer, the more you can understand about what your customer is doing, what they think, what they feel, where they are, the easier content creation becomes. So it's really important that we focus on the people who are most likely to be our customer. It's so important that we really drill this down because we're all busy. And the more focused this becomes, the clearer our idea of who our customer is, the easier everything that becomes, and the more time it does save us within our marketing management and our content creation. So the first thing we have to do is create our target audience. So your target audience is a specific group of people who you want to reach with your marketing message. This is because they are more likely to take action. So they are people who are more likely to become your customers. So for example, if I'm targeted by the Lucky Shrub, I am a plant murderer. I've got a house full of dying house plants, but I keep buying more and I keep investing time online in the hopes that one day I'll get better. So if the Lucky Shrub get to me with their marketing, I'm likely to buy. In comparison, my boyfriend hates plants, he hates gardening, he hates anything that involves a little bit of maintenance. So even if that content gets displayed to him, he's never going to engage with it. It's why it's so important that we really hammer out who our target audience is, because then we can do clever things within our social and actually all of our marketing to make sure we get our message in front of the right people. So people in your target audience will have certain characteristics in common, and they tend to fall into three quite broad categories. So the first one is demographics. So these are things like age, gender, household income, disposable income, occupation, education level, and even location. So they are the kind of core commonality. The next one is interests. So they could all be really interested in a certain product, a certain topic, or a certain activity. A big one I tend to find for interests is actually, especially in the UK, is where they shop. You can tell an awful lot by your customers by whether they're a Waitrose customer or a Lidl's customer. So don't be afraid to really understand this and dig deep into it. And the third one is behaviors. So this is things like, what hobbies do they have? Are they quite athletic? Do they go running at the weekends? Do they invest in these hobbies? Do they spend lots of time online? And most importantly for us in the world of social media marketing, which social media channels they are on. So what we're going to do is kind of go through these one by one. So for example, the Lucky Shrubs demographic, their target audience is people aged between 35 and 54 with a household income of 100,000 or more. So actually we can see that this is a huge, very expensive, high-end, very niche product. I also think, looking at this really critically, that target audience is a little bit too broad. You would speak to a 35-year-old in a very different way to how you'd speak to a 54-year-old. So a key interest is that the main target audience have recently purchased a houseplant, or they're interested in purchasing their own home and they're looking to do some landscaping and really invest in the kind of world around them. And for their behaviors, it's people who watch home improvement shows, read architectural and designs magazines, follow architects and contemporary designers, and they follow the kind of very high-end designer influencers on social media. So we can see kind of straight away by drilling this down that actually the Lucky Shrub has a very high-end target customer. Yours might look completely different, but the thing I want to get from this slide is just really hone down exactly what your customer does. And actually that income bracket is a really important thing. So it is possible to have more than one target audience. So this is what we call a primary and a secondary audience, and they are equally important. And they are really important to kind of think about when we are doing our writing and our content creation. So your primary target audience or your primary customer is the person who's most likely to get your attention, and they're most likely to become your most valuable customer. So they are the ones that we want to kind of focus lots of time and attention on because they're going to bring us more revenue. Whereas our secondary target audience are groups of people who've got common characteristics. They're going to be interested in your products or your services, but they're unlikely to become your most valuable customers. So they may have some commonality with your primary audience. It could be that they don't quite have the income bracket. We tend to see a good example of this is normally in e-commerce businesses, where your primary, especially high-end e-commerce, where your primary target audience is very wealthy, they've got a really strong income level, but then your secondary audience are people who buy every time you have a sale. So they're your more kind of aspirational market. So secondary target audiences are really important, and they can help you structure your marketing efforts, especially if you sell more than one product or one service. You can find that people will match up. So another good example for this is actually wedding designers or wedding caterers. Their primary audience are people who have weddings, their brides, their grooms, they know exactly who they are. But their secondary target audience could be people who are in looking for event caterers, or they're looking for people to come in and cater for a business lunch. We're not strictly talking to them, but we want them to know how good our food is. So we're going to look into these in a little more detail now, because using different definitions to your different audiences really will help your marketing effort. And I tell everyone to draw these out, but there is a handy worksheet on the next slide. So if we look at the Lucky Shrub as an example, the primary audience is garden designers. So these are people who are interested in planting, designing, and maintaining their garden. So Karen knows that lots of people out there, and she also knows that her customer varies with the time. So actually, as we're running into winter, she probably knows that her garden designers are going to drop off. So it's important that she starts to look at her secondary audience as well, who are your garden DIYers. So she knows that there's lots of people out there who want to do it themselves. They might not have the budget for a garden designer. So they're very aspirational. They follow the Lucky Shrub, hoping one day that they could come and do their design. But instead, what they are doing is doing it themselves, and they're trying to learn some tips and tricks along the way, hopefully with some value-added content. The Lucky Shrub also know, so these guys are meant to be in New York, but imagine them in central London. Their secondary audience is people who've got apartments and they want some house plants. They notice this really big trend in millennials that they want house plants everywhere. I'm a prime example of this. That's why I'm currently slowly murdering a house full of plants. So she's decided that she's going to target her millennials or her container designers, gardeners, to include in her marketing, and actually know, I'm going to talk about house plants to these guys. I'm going to teach people how to look after their house plants, and then they'll be available to buy in the nursery or via the website. So this is kind of a really clear way to split down your audiences. And we would never really recommend over 3 or 4, because otherwise it just gets a little bit too much. And this is something that we do day in, day out. I still do this whenever we have a new customer, or whenever we are writing marketing plans. So Facebook have got this handy little worksheet. If anyone wants, just let me know and I'll email it around to you at the end, or just write it out and remember these questions. So please feel free to take a screenshot. So your target audience can help you focus your marketing efforts, and it allows you to focus down on the people who are most likely to be interested, most likely to become your customers. So this is kind of what we are looking for when we're drilling out our target audience. So I always give them a name. So this slide deck tells you to give them a name across the whole audience, which is like garden designers. I always give them a physical name. I call them Charlie, I call them Barry, I call them Henry, but it helps make them much more personal. The next thing we think about is, what is the need of your target audience? And this is always a big thing. And this is always where it gets a little bit uncomfortable, because it's a hard thing to do this. It's a hard bit of thinking. But why does someone need your product or your service? What is the pain point you are solving for them? So we're here training social media today. So the need of you guys on this call, in theory, is that you need social media training. You want to upskill yourself. If we look at the Lucky Shrub, it could be that the need of their customer is they need high quality plants, or they need something to brighten up their apartment. This isn't normally a black and white answer. Someone who needs a bottle of perfume probably doesn't need a bottle of perfume. They could need a feeling, they could need to feel aspirational. So spend some time working on their needs and their wants. So could actually you be selling a product or service which is actually much more of it's not something they need, but it's more of a desirable product. So I always like to think of beauty treatments and massages when you have this dilemma, because lots of us want to have the beauty treatments. We want to have our nails done, it makes us feel good. But actually, if you look at things like massages and facials, you could actually need those. So your primary customer could be someone coming in for a weekly massage because it makes them feel good. But actually, your secondary customer could be someone who's really suffering with tight knees and they need to come in and have a massage for that kind of health reason. So your demographics are really important. As I said, it just helps hone you down. And I would always include where they shop as well. And then your interests. So what people are generally interested in, hobbies, activities, whether they're crafters, whether they're gamers, whether they're interested in ethical consumerism, that's quite a big one. And behaviors. So do they shop online? Do they come in store? Do they regularly go outside? Are they still a little bit COVID aware? All of these things are really key. And the final thing Facebook says is give it a name and an image. I always, like I said, give mine a name. I normally do it last, actually, but I give them a real name. So that could be something like Barry or Charlie or Cindy. And if you can, put an image to them as well, because as well, that helps you in content creation, because it helps you go, today I am talking to Sally and I am solving Sally's need for a houseplant. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking to Barry and I'm going to be solving Barry's need for a garden design company. So it helps you when you're with your content creation. So if you're not sure how to start, if you don't know how to determine your target audience, there's 4 key things that you can look at. So ideally, you want to do some customer research. So for example, you can ask your current customers, just say to them, why did you come to us? Why are you interested in us? How did you find out about us? What do we do better than anyone else? And if you haven't got any customers yet, that's absolutely fine. Having a strong idea of like who you think they may be is always a good starting point. But if you are very new to business, you will find that changes. Instead, have a look at your competitors. Competitor research is a huge thing. And I recommend that all businesses do it at least once a year. So see what your competitors are doing. See what hashtags they're using, especially on Instagram. That's a really big thing. See what social media networks they're using. See if they're investing in Google ads. See if they're using social adverts. Because if these things are working for your competitors, they're probably going to work for you as well. Talk to people. So talk to people who are your customers, talk to people who are likely to be your customers, talk to people, just strangers in the street. Just go out and say, can I ask you 5 questions, and just gain an understanding of whether or not people are likely to be your customers and pull demographics from there. And if you can, do things like focus groups or online questionnaires, or a good survey monkey is always great, especially when you're first starting, or even if you've been trading for a while. And if you want people to do a survey or any kind of online thing, just be prepared to have to incentivize it. And a £10 Amazon voucher can go a very long way. So even if we get 100 applicants, 100 people answer this questionnaire, you'll be entered into our prize draw to win a £10 Amazon voucher. You will be amazed how many people will answer and what valuable data that will give you back. Another thing you can do is incentivize with gifts and offers in store. So if everyone completes the survey, we'll give you 5% off, we'll give you 10% off, or we'll give you a voucher. One lucky winner will get a voucher to spend in store, because then that means you make sure you get your ideal customers answering the questionnaire, not just people who want an Amazon voucher. So now we're going to see how this looks for the lucky shrub. So this is her primary audience. So these are people who want to replant or plant their garden. So this is for the garden design element. So as we can see, we know their income, we know where they are, we know their gender, and we can see what their interests are. So straight away, when we are content creating, and this is the big thing why knowing your target audience is so important, you can go, one of our key interests of our key customer is native plants. So one day a week, I'm going to talk about native plants. It's why it's so important. And then the last thing we do is give them a name and an image, just to make it really easy for us to understand this is our garden designer, and it makes them much more personal. So now we're going to look at someone else. So we're going to look at Hair Day. So Hair Day specialize in haircuts and colors. So much more kind of service-based, but a really interesting example. So the owner of Hair Day is looking to increase sales to their salon's website and has created a series of home hair dye kits with several bright options for more adventurous clients. So it's really important that you use the right channels to reach and connect with your customers. So straight away, just by being on social media as much as I am, if we know that someone is selling creative home dye kits for bright, vibrant hairs, this is a very Instagrammable product. And we know that because they're trying to increase sales through the website, we're going to be looking at something like Facebook and Instagram shopping to make that process really easy. So the hair dye team wants to reach customers interested in its home dye kits. So they want to attract a new audience to the salon, but what they're doing is using this home dye kit as a nice entry-level product. Their current clientele is really quite traditional, and they want to move their salon forward and to become the latest edgy place to be. So they're really active on social media and they do some outreach. So they already kind of talk to their current customers and clients, they engage with them on social, they like, they comment. But what they need to do is reach this new audience. So they want to make sure that they do this in a really clever way because they're time poor. So what they need to do is we're going to define their target audience for their coloring service. So they did some research. So they asked people around them. So they asked their current customers, they asked other hairdressers, they even had a look at their competitors, and they started to create this custom audience. So we're looking for someone who wants something a little bit different with their hair. So they're probably, although this need says it's a fun, non-traditional, bold hair color, it's actually probably the need to stand out. It's the need to feel different. It's the desire to be unique. It might be that someone's gone grey early and they want to cover it up, but it's more likely that they want to make a statement. They've identified that they're women. They've identified that they've got a much lower level of income than the lucky shrub, but they still have a good income level. They're interested in fashion and hair and nail trends as well as celebrity style. So this straight away means that Hair Day need to be aware of if Kim Kardashian dyes her hair bright pink tomorrow, they need to be ready really quick with bright pink content. And they know from their behaviors that actually they are very easily swayed by Instagram as a social media network. And then, of course, the last thing they've done is given them a name and a picture just to help you hone it down. So creating your custom audience is that simple. Once you've got your custom audience, it's very easy to see, or your target audience, it's very easy to see which social network they should be on. The easiest thing to do is either have a look at the user demographics for each network, or by all means comment and ask me in our Facebook group, because I'll be able to tell you really quickly and easily what networks people will be on. For anything kind of edgy and young, so like Hair Day, Instagram is very much the leading network. But that is the end of the deck. So this is all about kind of just hammering out your target audience. So hopefully you've learned how to focus on marketing your efforts on people who'd be interested in your product and how to describe your online audience in a really kind of simple and easy way. So do we have any questions?